What's raging, gamers? Welcome to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. How you doing, HenricK the Wreck?
Oh, you know me, Chris. As always, I'm doing amazing. How about yourself?
As you should, because it's time to rage, baby. It's Wednesday,
Yes,
and you know
it
what
is.
that is. It's 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and we are so stoked for you, the gamers, to be joining us for this amazing, jam-packed episode. And we always like to start off the show with a bang and show you guys a lot of viral content that is circulating all across the globe. And these Counter-Strike players took outdoor gaming to the extreme by hosting their LAN party on a mountaintop, because nothing says headshot like a breathtaking view and a gust of wind blowing your frags away.
Something that's crazy to me is that it's always Counter-Strike that has these crazy LAN parties, because I always remember whenever I see a clip like this of this legendary picture of a dude duct taped to the ceiling at a Counter-Strike LAN party in someone's house.
I totally forgot about that iconic clip. I wish I had that photo ready to showcase to the rest of the world. But yeah, that is always a freaking great time. And you know, you made me think of something that I wasn't thinking about until now that just came out of your mouth. You know, you don't see this with the newer generations doing these kind of things. You know, you always see the old school Counter-Strike players coming back. Maybe they don't know what LAN is. Maybe they're always playing on their Wi-Fi.
That's the whole thing. Yeah, like gaming as it was in the turn of the century was, hey, come on over, we order pizza, let's have some fun, let's play some Halo, let's play some Call of Duty, whatever.
Exactly.
Now it's like, hop on, boys. All right.
But we got a lot of great comments around this viral clip. The first one we have here is, "This is not what we meant when we told them to touch grass. Laughing my ass off." Yeah, you know, but it's on the top of a mountaintop, you know? There's a little bit of gravel and rock, so hey, chill, fam, chill. Next one we got here is, "Men will see this and say, hell yeah." I mean,
hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. And last one, "Their parents seeing their kids take their PCs outside after telling them to go play outside for a change." Do people not realize there are a lot of grown-ass adults in that clip? It's the adults that are leading the charge.
Exactly. It's not the kids doing that, though. The kids might get inspired to do the same thing.
I think that's a good point. And I know, you know, we always try to use video games to try to relieve some stress or sometimes get out of trouble. And when a gamer oversleeps and is late for work, he doesn't make excuses. He fires up his driving game and skillfully convinces his boss that he's just stuck in traffic, dodging virtual cars instead of real responsibilities.
I mean, I'll give it to him. He's creative and making up some sort of excuse and you know, backing it up with something. It reminds me of those clips of people trying to convince their grandmother that GTA is real life.
Right, exactly. That dude was amazing for that, and then showcasing, you know, Cyberpunk 2077, talking about as though there's a new city being developed just outside of Los Angeles. Like, what are we doing? Like, is Vault-Tec involved? Like, what's going on? Is there something that I'm missing out on? But the first comment that we got around this viral clip here is, "The bucket seat is killing me." Yeah, what is up with that? It looked like he had a pretty nice setup rig, and then all of a sudden you can't lift your tush up to take a break and relax. And don't soil yourself. That's all I'm asking. Next one we got here is, "Double checking is crazy." You know, I'm with that. You know, that's kind of wild when, you know, you're already trying to explain your dilemma, why you're late in the first place. Why do you got to follow me up like that? Like, for real? Like, do you think he's a shyster when he's at work?
Thought something seemed fishy.
Was it? Yeah.
And I mean, hey, you know, maybe it wasn't entirely too unwarranted based on what we know.
Exactly. And we got a suggestion here. Pro tip: if you get a flat, always keep a picture for emergencies.
There you go. And remove the metadata from it so it doesn't look like you took a picture a couple of years back.
See, you're thinking beyond the reach. Okay, I see where you're going with this. I mean, I love that gamers embrace each other. They see viral clips like this, and then they're looking out for one another. You know, Not everything has to be a battle royale in the end. But,
We're a community at the end of the day.
Exactly. But we all know the feeling of getting a victory royale in Fortnite. But do you remember the first time you were crowned? It's like finding out you're actually better at building virtual forts than assembling IKEA furniture. I know that when you get that like extra screw and you're like, did I literally forget something?
Hey, that is in my blood, all right? I am part Swedish. It is in my blood to put together IKEA furniture to the team.
Okay. But this kid was definitely loving life, and let's embrace it, fam. This is pretty sweet.
I actually did. Yes. I had your body. I had all the abilities, and I'm very good to write. You won? Yes. Look. First place, I'm good. Look. I won. What? Okay.
First off, I gotta hand it to the parent to be so okay with this and like going along with the kid. It's like, yeah, show me your win. All right, cool, you won. You know, like some parents won't do that, and this one
sounds like you've been scolded lots of times in your childhood. I'm assuming you're trying to show your mom, a pop, something pretty iconic, and then what's next?
It was mostly why are you up at 3 a.m?
Well, why are you waking up your parents at 3 a.m. if you're trying to show them something iconic?
I was waking them up
you know
winning.
What? You do deserve to get scolded. If you ever woke me up at 3 a.m. over a battle royale victory win, you know what? You get more than just a death glare, young man. No, hey, but the comment that we got here around this viral clip is, it's all downhill from here, little man. Is it now? I mean, once you kind of win that first battle, do you get away from the quote-unquote bots and the noobs and start competing with the real cats?
Maybe less of that and more of the skill-based matchmaking saying, oh, you won. Well, we're going to put you with a bunch of people who didn't win now.
Yeah, now I want to see you clap back and do rank.
Solo, you're going to go up against the people who have been winning.
Yeah, very good point. This kid's going to learn the hard way. Next one is, shout out to mom for being excited that her kid won a video game. My mom would have told me to go study.
Exactly.
I just kind of like the trot that he had when he was like going down to the basement. He like, you could tell his heart was still pounding out of his chest.
He was still in the moment.
So true. Little guy had been tortured by the adults in Fortnite game and finally got his revenge. Little bro, I'm in my 30s and had the same reaction when I got my first win. So happy for him. So everybody still struggles to this day trying to get a Fortnite win, supposedly, after all. And you know what? Just let the kid cook, okay? You know, not all of us can be great like Chris Collins at Fortnite. I'm just playing. But hey, we got a jam-packed show for everybody that's tuning in live to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. Are you ready to rock and roll, my friend?
Absolutely. It's time to rage.
It's time to rage, baby. Woo!
Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Children of the Sun. This game is all about style. It's going for the retro PSX era style of graphics, a style that has in recent years been greatly appreciated by fans of nostalgia. But art direction aside, is the game any good? Let's dive into the gameplay and take a look. The gameplay of Children of the Sun can be described as a tactical puzzle game. Your objective in each level is to plan out an assassination via sniper rifle. The catch is that you'll have to take out all the targets with only one bullet. How this is achieved is through utilizing the main character's supernatural abilities of telekinesis. Using these abilities, taking out a few targets per level with one bullet is very achievable. However, the game still won't make it easy as each setup is a puzzle in itself. And you'll sometimes have to use the environment to your advantage, meaning that there are times it will be preferred to shoot an explosive barrel to take out your targets, or a bird in order to get a better angle, as just a couple of examples. But why are we assassinating these targets? The story holds the answers to that question. The main character, the girl, is the victim of a cult by the same name as the game. The girl's family was taken from her by said cult, and as a result, she has decided to eliminate them. A dead simple premise to understand, and is conveyed through some short cutscenes. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat?
What better way to present mind-blowing puzzles to the gamers rather than have them blow the minds of cultists with a bullet to the head?
Oh, what amazing wordplay you got there, young William Shakespeare.
Yeah, this game, it's super stylish. I love the art direction that they took with it. It's very nostalgic in a way, but that doesn't necessarily take away from the game at the end of the day. The one thing I will say is the game's art style being so dark, it sometimes makes it a little hard to actually see what you're doing. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this game, Chris?
Yeah, I think the best way to describe playing Children of the Sun is like channeling your inner Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy, except instead of using a whistling Yaka arrow, you're piercing a single bullet through the digital skulls. It's pretty fun. You know, you're going to have this sniper puzzle shooting game that resembles more of a stormtrooper instead of a sharpshooter. It doesn't quite hit the bullseye, though. I don't know if it's a repeat because it, you know, yeah, they have this like, you know, the scoreboard system where you can kind of compare yourself to other gamers around the world, or if you like to compete with your friends to try to see like, hey, I one-upped you because I was able to take out these vicious human beings inside the video game. But I just don't know if it's enough to be a repeat, only for the matter that a lot of these like NPC enemies are still locked in the same position in these puzzles. So it's not, if they kind of like moved it around, then it would maybe be a bit more memorable. What do you think?
Yeah, that's really what sets this game aside from a game like, we'll say, like one of the Hitman games, where it's kind of a similar thing. You're going in and assassinating targets. Different premise entirely, obviously, but this one, like, puzzle games are not really my forte in the first place. Shooters are, so it's kind of like bridging the gap there for me. But I do agree that the replay value isn't going to necessarily be there for everybody. I could see myself maybe replaying a couple of levels where characters are moving around and things could dynamically change from run to run. Yeah. But when it comes to the majority of the levels, I think I'll pass on replaying them based on, like you were saying, the fact that they're really just in one spot and there's kind of like a justified way to do this that makes sense and not really another way. I mean, you can kind of mess around, obviously, and do things differently every time, but there's going to be a most efficient way to do it. And unless you're that kind of person who's striving for time attacks or speed runs of games, you know, if you're that kind of person, great. That's just not necessarily me for this game.
Oh, I feel you, HenricK. But, you know, watching enemies' heads explode in super slow motion feels eerily familiar to, you know, like the likes of, you know, Fallout's VAT system, you know, because, you know, nothing says, you know, fun, meticulously like planning your next move while someone's head is slowly bursting like a ripe melon. You know, that's never going to get old, right? But, you know, I'm always going to be the guy that's always going to bring up story and plot. And I got to say, with Children of the Sun, the plot is as thin as a pixel. And the gameplay, you know what I'm saying? And like the gameplay lasts as long as like the extended edition of Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, except like minus the epic battles, the dramatic dialogue, and the Oscar-worthy performances. Not even one of the movies. Because, you know, that's been kind of the thing that's been questioned about this game. You know, some people will be nice about it and say, yeah, the game's about 5 to 6 hours. I don't know about you, HenricK. It kind of felt like 3 hours. And that's why it's just like, if it's a game that's so short and so fast like this, that's why I'm calling the verdict as a pause, because you really had a lot of opportunities to really make this a repeat. Like with one of the examples I was suggesting is go back, try to execute that same kind of puzzle level. But it would have been pretty nice if some of the, the NPC enemies were in different positions so I can at least always feel like it's something different. It's like playing a crossword, the same one over and over and over again.
Or here's a great idea, kind of taking a little bit of inspiration from Hitman.
Okay.
So in Hitman, if you do Hitman Online matching, then you can go through a list and kind of do a mission based on what people have set up as a criteria for you. What if this game did a similar thing where it was like you have a certain criteria of objectives you have to do, like sub-objectives within each level? Or if to take it even a step further, let the people who bought the game, which the game is only $15, so this would be even greater of a value, let them create a map with characters that they place in there themselves. So people can go in and be like, oh, I'm going to place a dude here who's walking. I'm going to place a dude here who's looking at him, and he's just going to stand there. And let me place some other dudes everywhere. And let's see if someone can do something better than what I've done.
Yeah, I mean, the more you start bringing up a lot of these great ideas, it just makes this game feel more like a passion project instead of a finished product. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's something about it just kind of eerily feels flat to me. But hey, everybody's always looking for a different spin, something new, something different. And, that is something that I will give to this game, Children of the Sun. It definitely feels like its own authentic, piece of delicious pie that separates itself from, let's say, an apple or a pumpkin pie. So if you want to dive into something that, you never really quite tasted, but you definitely want to, lick the flavor up, Children of the Sun might be that game for you. But hey, I haven't quite heard your verdict though. It sounds like you're kind of on the fence. I'm
not on the fence on it. It is a pause for me as well.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because this game does have a lot of potential. I believe it's a good game to at least go through once, but maybe wait for a sale.
Yeah.
At least it's not $40 or $60, but wait for a sale maybe.
That's a really, really good point. And hey, you heard the verdict here right now on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show, but we got a lot more in store, so join along for the ride. And HenricK, are you ready to rock and roll, my friend?
Absolutely. It's time. It's time to rage.
Let's get it, baby. What's good, listeners? Welcome to Patch Notes, where my co-host HenricK the Wreck and I discuss gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. Let's get it. In a bizarre twist of digital destiny, LeBron James found himself in the crosshairs of a legal slam dunk over his virtual tattoos. A jury on Friday sided with the makers of the popular video game series NBA2K over its use of 2 tattoos inked on the GOAT. And if you want to know what was in question, here you are. The jury found Take-Two Interactive Software did not infringe on Jimmy Hayden's copyrights when it replicated 2 tattoos on the video game avatar of the Akron-born basketball superstar. LeBron James, caught in the middle, expressed surprise, stating that he never knew he needed permission to license his likeness, and boldly declaring, "Nobody should have rights over what I can do with my body." And that's where you, the gamers online, chimed in with the following. So let's go ahead and check out the first comment. Question: how do you claim a person's tattoo likeness if you aren't that person?
Exactly. How does that make sense? It doesn't.
Yeah, my body, my choice. I mean, you would think that the anatomy of your body is yours. Clearly not. Next comment we got here is, I don't know. I can't imagine having to get permission from every tattoo person has to recreate a likeness. How would you even know? Games would have to remove all tattoos or just wait and be sued by everyone. To me, it's not really a gray area. However, offering that tattoo independently in-game, sure. Copyright also shouldn't supersede body autonomy. Yeah, I mean, let's face it, that's a bit strange.
Yeah, the logistics just doesn't make sense if you're going to say even 5 different tattoo artists. That's already way too hard.
Yeah, who knew that when you're finding a personal lawyer, you also have to, realize you better think long and hard, about who your tattoo artist is. Let's go into this next comment. It says, a tattoo artist shouldn't have any claim or say over a tattoo, which limits when and where a person or their likeness can appear. That's simply insanity. Once a tattoo is on you, it's a part of you and your appearance, likely for life. Next one we got here is, that's how I feel about it. It's crazy to ask the tattoo artist for permission if you film a movie, appear on TikTok, shoot a commercial, sell your likeness to a video game, get your body 3D scanned for AI deepfakes, photo shoot for ads, etc. They got paid for their labor already. What else do they want? Maybe I was in the wrong line of business. Maybe I just...
You're trying to be a tattoo artist that does this now?
Yeah, right? Maybe I'm onto something. Tattoo artists are often the copyright holder of all the tattoos they create. That should not be the law. Tattoos are older than copyright, and copyright was never intended for makings on a human body. That's obviously BS. If you want to protect the quote-unquote copyright for your art, don't put it on other people's bodies. When you do that, you lose rights to that art. It's not an effing brand. You don't own the flesh on that person. And let's go ahead and read the last comment. So, does that mean technically the artist should have sued LeBron, not 2K, since he signed the contract approving the likeness? All of these are really, really great questions to be asked. And HenricK, who knew that athletes have to worry about more than just their game stats? Now they need to vet their tattoo artists like they're picking their next endorsement deal?
Well, also what's so wild about this, I'm sorry, but the second tattoo that we showed, the stars, come on. Yeah. You're trying to claim that you're the only tattoo artist that could ever do that? No. Stars are not something you can really copyright, like the generic design of it. Maybe like that you could maybe, but all you really
what do you think about like
a collection of stars?
Or what about the second tattoo, Gloria?
The second one, that one's a little bit more understandable to copyright that design. But at the same time, I agree with these commenters. The second you put that on someone, you've relinquished any rights to them using it for something without you knowing.
Yeah, and I know this jury only took 90 minutes to place a verdict and side with Take-Two Interactive. But, a similar case involving LeBron James tattoos was tossed out by a New York judge before trial, but an Illinois jury ruled in favor of a tattoo artist of a WWE wrestler, Randy Orton, and she was awarded $3,750. So clearly this country can't tell the difference between, what's applied on your body or not. Or maybe we do already know that, considering some of the social matters being discussed about my body, my choice. We don't have to get into it, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. But Hayden stood in the way of allowing the tattoos to appear on a cartoon version of LeBron in the movie Space Jam 2. Don't you find that just a tad strange how, like, literally, this is a person, HenricK, that his agent, Rich Paul, introduced him to this tattoo artist. And who would have thought, especially LeBron, that this guy would be such a headache for over a decade while he's competing in the NBA playoffs against the Denver Nuggets?
Well, they probably would have never known. And it speaks to the ridiculousness in a way, because they're only targeting the people who've been making money, like an athlete or someone who's starring that in a big scale movie. Whereas technically, if you're using that same logic, you should be charging anyone who's using it for anything. Yeah, even if they're not making money or a whole lot of money. Like, say if you're we'll say a D-class actor, just as an example of someone who's not going to make a ton of money in a movie, and you go start an independent film, you get paid a little bit for it, right? And the movie makes a little bit of money. as the tattoo artist, are you going to go after that person too? Probably not, because they're probably not going to be able to afford actually paying you.
Well, that's been kind of some of the argument. I know the attorney clapped back and said, you know what, this is clearly not fair. You know, the jury didn't really get to listen to our case. You know, Take-Two has no problem signing music licensing rights in the millions, but when it comes to a guy who started off in the back of a barber shop trying to start his tattoo career, is that even a fair comparison to even make?
Probably not, but it's such a weird discussion to have, and I think that it's not going to really have a clear answer for everyone. I mean, there's going to be exceptions that some people will come up with, and I think that there has to be some, maybe more of a discussion legally, and kind of come to a maybe more finite decision moving forward if this is going to become more of an issue.
Yeah,
as it stands, it hasn't been a huge thing yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if, give it a couple of years, it might come up more.
Well, to be real with you, HenricK, it kind of has been, because, you know, LeBron has actually been dealing with this ex-tattoo artist since all the way back to NBA 2K16, and he sued him all the way until 2K20. And some of the mobile renditions that are being released on your Android or your iOS device. And you might be wondering, you know what? This guy does come across as a piece of shit. But you know what? Let me tell you something that's very intriguing, just to kind of pinpoint this topic. Back in 2011, the man who gave Mike Tyson his distinctive facial tattoo sued Warner Brothers over the similar looking facial art in Hangover 2 on Stu, which they ended up later settling in court. It was almost being held off from its Memorial Day weekend release almost nearly 12 years ago, and it got almost so bad, HenricK, that they almost were about to remove the tattoo from the home release. If anybody's ever seen Hangover 2, how would the jokes work if that tattoo was actually removed? You know what I'm saying?
Just imagine Mike Tyson without that tattoo. You kind of can't.
I mean, I'm just shocked that Mike Tyson didn't actually punch his ex-tattoo artist for even applying to come after, you know, Warner Brothers.
Maybe he would have challenged him to a match in the ring.
It's crazy to think that the United States never figured that out during that, you know, because we always get some crazy wild, you know, copyright lawsuits, and you would have thought that they would have gotten that right back in 2011. But now it has to be rehashed out all over again with LeBron James here in the year 2024. Totally freaking insane. But I think this is a great segue to go ahead into the next topic of conversation. So, HenricK, break it down. What's going on? Seems like people pretty pissed off right now.
The Overwatch 2 community is in uproar over Blizzard Entertainment banning a pro player for cursing in chat. Yeah. Apparently, in their world, it's fine to shoot someone in the face, but heaven forbid you drop an F-bomb while doing it. Let's check out the ticket in question.
Yeah, so this started going viral on X, and, you know, Derpy, he's a collegiate pro player. He tweeted out to Blizzard and said, can I get a human to respond to my ticket, please? Because this has been a majority of the gripe, right, HenricK? Like, they have bots that assess
to
your
be
ticket.
fair, there's way too many tickets for a human to go through everything, but
true.
You know, sometimes you need a human to reassess what the bot has done.
Exactly. And so we have the full image of this dialogue. And so essentially what goes down is he says, what did I do or say that got me banned? Greetings. This action has been taken in accordance with our terms of use and our in-game policies, which all players acknowledge and agree to prior to playing. These policies and conditions allows us to maintain a fun and sage game environment for all of our players. So clearly, gamers quickly questioned Blizzard's actions with the following. So let's go ahead and check out the first comment. Should be arrested and sentenced to a minimum of 20 years. He's trolling. He's clearly trolling.
With that movie with Sylvester Stallone, Demolition Man,
yeah,
where he wakes up from, you know, the long cryo sleep and if you curse in that world, you get fined. Like, is it becoming that for Overwatch 2 players?
Yeah, I know. You know what? I think he does need to serve like 20 hours of community service picking up trash in his local city. Unacceptable, young lad. Next comment is least sensitive Overwatch interaction. Yeah, I mean, pretty
getting
wild.
To that point.
Blizzard, y'all are on a roll. Yeah, it kind of feels like that. They're just trying to kill the game further so they can sunset it, and nobody can convince me otherwise. Is that really fair to say? I mean, we did break down last week that, the Esports World Cup's coming up, and Overwatch 2 is going to be one of the featured games. Would they really want to sunset it with such a massive prize pool like that finally being introduced in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia?
I mean, they're coming up on, what is it going to be now, 8 years of live service for this game. I'm sure they want to continue it as much as they can.
But yeah, it does. I feel for you, but that's not I don't think so.
Yeah.
Blizzard banning thousands of players for saying a swear. Why is our player count so low? Yeah, I mean, this would probably not make me want to go. It's like I got iffy even when the PS5 was like, hey, listen, look, you're not even going to be able to even boot up a game until you comply with their terms and conditions that we're recording you at all times. It's like, dude, I'm not even playing multiplayer. Why do you have to feel the need that you have to record me at all times? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
You're going to lose people when you start implementing those kind of things. And last, thank you for posting this. Overwatch 2 right now is having an over-censorship of its game. People abuse the report, and even if you say, I'm shit, you can report them, and then Blizzard will try to make you look bad. Quote, it seems like you did the name calling, end quote.
Of yourself.
Of yourself. When you get reported, they send you an email and say you can appeal your punishment. You get no human interaction unless you subtweet that college student's post. And again, this is a collegiate pro player, and there's even been rumors floating around that like he's even being told that if another action like this happens, he could potentially lose his spot on his team, which is just totally freaking insane. And so HenricK, is Blizzard in the right for cracking down on cursing in Overwatch 2, or are they just completely out of touch like that one uncle who still thinks LOL means lots of love?
Well, I think it is definitely them being out of touch quite a bit. Maybe Microsoft does need to actually step in. I know they came out recently and said, oh, we're just letting Blizzard be Blizzard. What do you mean? When things like this happen, I think you need to step in and actually change things, Microsoft. And it's really ironic, too, because we have a picture we can show.
Yeah, we've got some photo evidence. That's
very
quite
ironic for them to be taking this sort of action when they have this in the game.
Very hypocritical.
What does this stand for?
Badass mofo.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
come on, man. I mean, there was even jokes where people were even saying they were typing in acronyms, like GG or whatever, and they were still being flagged. And you kind of wonder, on a level, it's like, because even Twitch chat sometimes they have those special moderation tools where they, because if you're getting thousands of people on end joining on your stream, what, you're going to hire one or two other people, on a separate computer just to be able to monitor the chat? Or if you're just like an indie streamer and, you don't want to get in trouble because you want to keep on streaming, keep making that revenue kind of ads, then yeah, it's just totally insane. But I'm kind of lost for words, HenricK. This is what?
Yeah, I mean, it's just actually really funny when you break down everything too, because this game has a profanity filter put on by default. So the people who are seeing the curse words uncensored, they opted out of the profanity filter. So why are you banning people for? That's not adding up.
Right.
But and then to go on to the whole, how you mentioned how people were also getting in trouble for just saying GG, which stands for good game. I get it. You don't want the game to be toxic. The fact is the game can be toxic, and you've already done something in the previous, all the way back in Overwatch 1, when people were typing GGEZ, it was censoring them by having them type out something else my feet stink or something.
But it seems like it's not just Blizzard though, HenricK. I mean, we were even getting reports even before we even jumped on live that, even Epic Games just introduced a new feature on Fortnite where you can toggle a setting where, there's some quote unquote problematic emotes where if you're doing the dancing L, that makes me feel bad. That makes me feel bad after a 9-to-5 gig, and I just want to tune back and relax, and I don't want to be trolled in the game. So I want to remove at least 4 dances. I mean,
are we that sensitive now that, you know, people can't do a little silly dance to you in a video game? Come on.
I just don't understand why, like, that is the main focus with a lot of, like, gaming studio companies. Profanity filters to remove stuff that you've already implemented into your game. I mean, who are we catering with? Like, the 6 to the 12-year-old crowd? Or are we actually going to really start viewing this game like it was meant to be a teen and up? Like, it's totally wild, totally freaking insane.
The thing, too, is, you know, the studios are fighting a losing battle when it comes to this sort of thing, continuing to censor the players. Because, yeah, sure, maybe you can't curse at someone, or, you know, maybe you can't do a little silly dance at them. But think back to all the way back in the Halo 2 days with teabagging starting up. That started up because you couldn't talk to the other person on the opposing team. So, like, people come up with creative ways to have bad manners towards the enemy that they just owned.
Good point.
And it's not going to matter what restrictions are in the game. They're going to come up with something, and it's become part of the culture of the game if they want it to be.
Yeah, I think everybody needs to stop being a bunch of sissies, and we need to implement more proximity chat in our games like Warzone, and then
bring
you can
back
actually
the gold legendary days of Modern Warfare 2 lobbies.
I love it. You know, occasionally, you know, just jumping into Rebirth Island, it just makes you go, oh my gosh, I wish I had more of this. And if you're super overly sensitive, maybe you shouldn't be playing multiplayer games after all. But man, it doesn't just stop here with Blizzard. Well, I guess to be fair, this is the former president speaking on this matter, but it's still, in the end, gonna tie back to Blizzard, right, HenricK?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and discuss the next topic that we got here on Patch Notes, which is Mike Ibarra, the former president of Blizzard Entertainment, suggested that gamers should have the option to tip developers after completing a game, sparking a virtual revolution where players start checking their couch cushions for spare change before hitting the final boss. I mean, isn't that totally freaking insane? I mean, they want me to do what now? So let's go ahead and show the tweet. So I've thought about this idea for a while as a player, since I've been diving into single-player games lately. When I beat a game, there are some that just leave me in awe of how amazing the experience was. At the end of the game, I've often thought, quote, I wish I could give those folks another $10 or $20 because it was worth more than my initial $70, and they didn't try to nickel and dime me every second, end quote. Games like Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, Breath of the Wild, and Elden Ring, etc. I know $70 is already a lot, but it's an option at the end of the game I wish I had at times. Some games are that special. Oh, wow. I know most will dislike this idea, and he has to add in a smiley face. But by the way, I realize we're tired of tipping and everything else, but I view this different from a pressure to tip type scenario, many face, and give feedback on. No, it's like going to crypto.com arena and I'm buying a $20 Budweiser only to have you flip your freaking tablet in my face with a 15-20% tip. No, I am not giving you money for just opening the seal of the can. This is totally freaking insane. So let's go ahead and hear from the gamers. And if I don't like the game, they give me my money back. So Mike responds, on Steam, you have up to 2 hours to return games, no questions asked. I've done it several times. That's the closest I've seen. Helps with things like bad launch issues, etc. Really, you're going to find out that everything's so bad within 2 hours, HenricK?
Exactly. Like, not every game is going to let you know whether the game is good in 2 hours. Some games will say, like Dragon's Dogma 2, you're probably going to be only just finishing up making all your customizations at the 2 hour mark.
Oh, so you were supposed to use... Oh, that's why they released that for free.
Yeah, maybe that's why they had that character creator.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because they wanted you to know that the thing was so flawless with your 144 pixels on your $3,000 PC rig, right? You know? But hey, let's go into the next comment. I gifted Baldur's Gate 3 to my best friend, so I bought it twice. Maybe buying the game for someone else more than once or updating to a collector's edition is a nice way to do it. Great idea. Yeah, if you want the digital art book, cool, great idea.
Yeah. I mean, it is like a better way, probably. Better solution.
Or wait, you could share more of the profit with the developers instead of asking more from the consumer. Fair.
You know, this really does. I'll dive into it after the comments, but
okay.
It dives into the whole problem in general.
So true, man. I hear you. You're right. I should tip the developers for a great single-player campaign on Modern Warfare 3, terrific Season 1 and 3 of Diablo, an extra tip for Overwatch 2. As the former president of Blizzard, you're smarter than this. The problem isn't consumer behavior.
That was sarcasm, by the way, guys.
Oh, yeah, if you couldn't figure that out by now. Could give these folks, unless you're tipping an independent developer, aren't you really just giving the publisher the money with the developers on a set wage? I mean, that's all great points, because what happens if they get laid off or they moved on? I mean, we did report at the start of the year over 11,000 game developers got laid off.
Some of which right after a game they worked on came out.
Exactly. So how does that all work out? And last, what if once you beat the game, it gives you the option to gift the game on the given platform for a discounted price? Congrats on finishing the title. If you enjoyed what you played, gift it to a friend so they can get the same joy you did at this special price. That's actually kind of cool. I mean, it might work, but then again, they're all going to be hating on it because they don't want you to do that. You know, they're trying to get you to embrace, you know, things like cloud gaming and etc. So they don't want to even start to flutter those kind of style of ideas as of yet. But it did seem like, HenricK, you were so eager to say, what the hell's going on? So should gamers start tipping developers after completing a game, or is it just adding insult to injury after spending hours stuck on that one impossible level? We've all been there.
Well, does this guy not realize that tipping pretty much only exists in America? Outside of America, it doesn't exist because of the fact that, say, a waiter or waitress, their wage that they're getting paid is the amount that they should be getting paid. And actually, you tipping them is a bit of an insult in their culture as a result of that. So if you're going to introduce the idea of tipping for video games, that means that you're introducing then as well the opportunity for these publishers and studios to say, oh, well, you're going to work for us for this wage because you're going to make some money back from the tips that we're going to get, that we're expected to get. Come on, guys. The whole reason tipping exists in America is because the people that you're tipping are not getting paid the wages they should be getting paid, at least in theory. That's what it's there for.
Well, no, it is a good point. You know, like I'm thinking about Japan, you know, where Sony's based off in, right? You know, that's a country that doesn't view tipping. It's in fact actually an insult. So, you know, to be fair to Mike, I know that he's all suggesting this all in good faith, but like, how would we know the tip would be allocated fairly, like to current or let go developers? That's the biggest problematic.
Yeah, because even if you think of it like a residual sort of thing, that probably is a little bit too much work for the developer's studio to really figure out if, you know, maybe someone has moved on from the company like you were suggesting. How are they going to reach out to that person? I know they can make it happen in a movie, but like there's a lot of paperwork that has to be filed out in for that on a, you know, monetary level for this to happen. And I feel like the studios would maybe not be willing to have that happen in the first place.
Yeah, and you know, and we had a lot of great tweets that were being showcased. And, you know, and a lot of people made a lot of fair points. You know, employees should not need gamers to support them by starting like this GoFundMe tip jar at the end of the game. I mean, we're already paying more money for nonsense like, you want all the weapons, HenricK? Well, you better pre-order the deluxe edition. Hey, do you want the real ending to the story? Buy this DLC or season pass. So like, what are we talking about, you know? And so fix those gripes first before you start going after the consumer that's actually making your studio afloat. So, I mean, wild stuff to even consider. But man, I don't know about you, HenricK. I didn't bring any gloves. I know we're not in a boxing ring, but I think it's time to debate. I love this. So why don't you go ahead and break it down, baby?
Sometime.
I know, right?
Yeah, a Reddit thread is ablaze with gamers debating which game of the year winner would reign supreme in a battle of game of the decade.
Yeah.
Why settle for just 1 year of glory when you can have 10? Here we have the game. Some great choices on here, I must say.
Yeah, so use whichever criteria you think is most important, gamers. Join along for this conversation because, let's face it, some of these games have changed the gaming landscape so much they might as well be wearing camo and wielding a shovel. Let's dig into the debate because we do have Reddit comments. First one we have is, for me, the 4 contenders are Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, Witcher 3, and God of War. Edit, but no game on this list is bad. Insanely strong games. Did you feel like there was a game on there that really shouldn't be on the list, HenricK? I mean, let's go ahead and showcase, the games again. I mean, are you seeing something? I can already look at one that's like, no question, you're already off. You're the weakest link. Goodbye. It takes 2.
Which one is that
I'll
for
say
you?
it takes 2. It takes 2. You're gone. Bye. Like, it's not even close.
I think that's why everyone was very upset. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people were upset that it won Game of the Year that particular year.
I don't know about that. I mean, we do have a comment. I will spoil it because, there's anticipation when it comes to show business. So we might as well keep the comments rolling. For me, it would be The Witcher 3. It was absolutely enamored by that game. It's good when the side mini game is more fun than most full-blown releases, but I'm not seeing Skyrim. No, just kidding. It was older.
Skyrim of all games.
I know. Is that even a fair comparison to Witcher 3?
They're kind of different games, I feel like.
It is. Baldur's Gate, Elden Ring, or The Witcher 3, all 3 push the medium to new heights. Beyond revolutionary, their impact and influence hasn't truly been felt yet. The next one we got here is, it's still absolute travesty that Red Dead Redemption didn't win Game of the Year. And to just give a little bit of a flashback, the game that beat Red Dead Redemption 2, I don't know do you remember this, HenricK? This is kind of like a quiz time for you.
Was it Sekiro?
Man, you were so close. Look above.
Oh, okay. It was a previous year from that one then.
It was God of War. God of War ended up taking out Red Dead Redemption 2. And I don't know about you, but I've spoken on it plenty of times. I think, the storytelling with God of War it was a fresh new era, fresh new chapter compared to something like the lines of Red Dead Redemption 2. Let's face it, fam, there are still some hollow holes in that game, which at times can be very, very boring, hence the first hour of the game. I know that shouldn't be judged completely, but let's be fair.
Yeah, come on, Chris. You don't want to wait. You got to wait until 2 hours in.
There are some open,
so you know whether you can refund the
game
or not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. I mean, what a great example. How are you going to tell if that game's actually going to be great after playing that first snow clip match? And what been my biggest gripe, HenricK? Why is it every time you play that game and you go to your base, why do I have to walk? Why can't I run? Those are kind of like the dumb shit in that game that just never made sense. But it's still truly, truly iconic. And yeah, I mean, it could compete, but again, that's not a part of the conversation. Let's go into the next comment. My personal GOAT is Sekiro, because it changed the way I face challenges, including real-life ones. Hesitation is defeat.
Yeah,
Words
Sekiro is a good game.
Excuse me. Yeah. I butchered it,
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you know, you know.
And man, we got a thick comment here. Breath of the Wild when considering its overall impact on the industry and future games. For example, Elden Ring, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Sonic Frontiers, and countless other games since then were inspired by Breath of the Wild. When I view Game of the Year and especially Game of the Decade, a game's legacy and impact on the industry as a whole matters as much as whether it's truly a fun/great game. That's why I wouldn't consider games like Baldur's Gate 3, Dragon Age, etc., since the legacy and the impact argument is much harder for those games to justify than Breath of the Wild. In the same vein, Witcher 3 is a close second to Breath of the Wild with this criteria in mind. The way I see it, though, Breath of the Wild is inspired a future Game of the Year winner, Elden Ring, which really does say it all. Does it say it all, HenricK?
You know, as a note on Breath of the Wild, the greatest form of flattery is imitation, right? Look at how many games have tried to imitate Breath of the Wild. Even this year, Pal World really does take inspiration from a lot of elements of Breath of the Wild. But that aside, I think the biggest example is probably Genshin Impact, which we've seen that game now has made MiHoYo one of the highest valued companies in the industry, all because of one game. And it's inspired by Breath of the Wild. It's basically Breath of the Wild with anime characters. So, I mean, that says something.
I mean, that's something I haven't quite heard of, that style of take, but I hear you. I feel you, HenricK. But, you know, after all, this is a debate, you know, and if you had a crown game of the decade, would you choose the one that revolutionized graphics, the ones that was the most addictive gameplay, or the one that made you cancel plans for weeks on end?
As I was saying, there's a lot of great choices on here. I think that it's hard to narrow it down to one, but if I were to narrow it down to one, it would definitely be Witcher 3. And the reason why is because when that game came out, it did have a bit of controversy about it because it was kind of a downgrade to what was first shown. But the downgrade is still great. It's still an amazing game. It has great storylines in it if you delve into them. It has a great mini game that has its own following as a result of it, and there's so many great options. I'm just
and it developed a TV series out of it. Whether replaced the actor
has not been great.
No, but I'm just saying. I mean,
but,
the impact of that video game was so big that it really started what we all are loving right now with Fallout the series. I mean, if we didn't get the likes of Henry Cavill to even just get on board and even play this role, I don't think movie studio companies would be talking the same way they are today when it comes to video game adaptations. So as much as that's a series that we all kind of go, gosh, the first season was all right, you know, I'm willing to stick around for season 2, and then it just completely just felt just
once
bad.
They announced that Henry Cavill was not coming back after a certain point, I think people tuned out because it's like, come on, this is a dude who, you know, he really fits the role. And he's a huge fan of the series. He's played the games. Like, come on. Yeah. You had the perfect person and you let them go based on your bias of, oh, we want to have it go this way. Sorry. Right. Oh, you don't want to work with it that way? Oh, okay, well, we got to let you go then. Come on, dude.
I feel, you know, for me, this was kind of a tough one. I mean, I'm not going to say The Last of Us Part 2, but I do want to comment on that game because I do remember when the sequel did drop, it felt so highly anticipated. And I remember with me and my homie Jody, we bought the game day one and we're playing it almost like we broke it in increments. We really try to space out the gameplay because we really wanted the storyline to breathe. And it was so addicting to really break down the stuff that we loved, the stuff that we really hated about, where the story direction was going. But in the end, I've had multiple playthroughs of that game because I just feel like the gameplay is so addictive. But if I'm looking at the overall landscape of a lot of these games, I'm going to have to say Zelda. I mean, I think Breath of the Wild was like, I thought it was one of those games where people, I'm just going to speak for myself, but like everybody was really locked in on Sony and Microsoft consoles. And Nintendo was like thriving for years to try to get something that's really going to bring their console to the forefront, right? And Zelda really pushed it to that extent where I feel like everybody tried to manipulate what was so inspiring, where you get this IP that's been around since, you know, the Nintendo 64 era, and, you know, you could still get that same kind of right, you know, and you still get that same ambience, you know, from those kind of style of games that never go away, whether you just tweak, you know, the graphics a little bit or just add tiny little new elements to the gameplay and even the storyline. They never feel like it's always feeling refreshing. Let's just put it that way. And it could have easily been a game that could have been like, what are you doing to this beloved franchise? Instead, it got people so freaking excited that the sequel dropped last year in the year 2023, and it literally made people run out and buy Nintendo's first $70 game on top of going, oh shit, I don't have this console. I need to buy the console too. So people were forking out like $350 just to play one game and nothing else on Nintendo. That is wild to me to this day. So I think, the bigger impact game of the decade, I'm going to have to go down with Zelda.
Yeah, that's a respectable choice. As a Zelda fan for a very long time, I was definitely very excited when Breath of the Wild came out because it was a departure from what they had previously been doing. So I agree, it did have a lot of good impact on the industry moving forward. And like I was explaining, so many games
maybe that's why we have no gloves right now, because we're not really fighting about this. I mean, I think we're just like, we're in awe, we're having like a virtual hug right now. We're like, we all love the games that, I know, like, but you know what? We definitely want you, the gamers, to join in on the conversation. Let us know what's good. I mean, am I speaking slanderous? Is HenricK onto something that I don't know of? I mean,
is there a game that isn't on the list of Game of the Year that you think is deserving of Game of the Decade?
That is also a very, very great point. And hey, let us know what's good. But man, HenricK, the Wreck, and I, we had such a great time on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show, and we want to thank you, the gamers, for tuning in live every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, because if it wasn't for you guys, this show would not be possible. And since we've made it towards the end of the show, just want to let you guys know, if you haven't followed me on my YouTube channel, go ahead and scan the QR code, like, share, subscribe, so you never miss a live show. And also hit that notification bell. I mean, you literally will get notified instantly if you ever forget our time schedule. And HenricK the Wreck.
Yeah, if you scan that QR code, you'll go to my YouTube channel, where I'd like you to go comment, like, subscribe, all that jazz as well, because what I like to see is people talking to me about what I'm doing and, join in on the fun on the memes that I'm posting. Come on, guys.
Exactly. You got some pretty legendary memes cooking up on your end. But thanks again for tuning on in, and we will see you next week. Peace.
See ya.